Hello everybody and welcome to the Coach Dad Podcast.
Well done, Austin.
So hello everybody and welcome back to the Coach Dad Podcast with me, your host Ben. This is episode 5 of season 2. Now, as you can probably hear, the acoustics again is a little bit echoey, a little bit of background noise. Reason is, again, I'm doing this on the go at work in my lunch break, and as all us good coaches do, we adapt and overcome to every situation. Obviously, it's such a struggle at the minute with home life and bits and bobs going on, just so much going on every night of the week. And to find a little window, a little bit of peace and quiet, this seems to be the only way at the minute. So I'll just keep cracking on with it, and eventually I'll get back to, getting back into my usual space and getting this done in my usual way. But for now, hopefully you don't notice too much difference and it doesn't impact, the quality of what we're putting out. So, but anyway, back to the podcast. In a few seconds, I'm going to have a look at the football of the weekend in my household and last week, and then I'm going to move on to a subject matter, which is going to be looking at behaviour. I've had a few things come up with behaviour online, which I've got into debates on with people, and also I've had issues amongst my own ranks. So I'm just going to have a little bit a look at that, and I'm going to return back to sort of looking at it from a new coach's perspective and how trying to give some help and advice on how I deal with these things and how I'm perhaps struggling with them right now and how I think is the best way to go forward. So yeah, I'll have a look at that shortly, but first we are going to get into this week's football news. Well, as I left it last week on the podcast, my sort of sign-off line was, I'm hopeful we're going into a game. This could be the one. We were playing against Terrington Oranges, and they have by far been the game where we've had the closest ones against. And sort of on ability, you look at the squads when they're out there and warming up, and there's you haven't got multiple standout players. So yeah, just a lot of I speak to the coach quite regularly. We've got a friend in common, and when we talk sort of back and forth and exchange a lot of messages about our feelings on things and stuff like that. And because some coaches I speak to, you get 1 or 2 messages back, yeah, see you there, no problem. Whereas other coaches you build up a bit more of a rapport with, and the chap who manages Terrington is one of them. And he's quite a nice chap. So yeah, we always have sort of similar ideas. We both have low ability squads. We take on lots of new players and kids who are new at football. So we sort of, for me anyway, they're sort of the benchmark of, when we have a fixtures come up, we look for those because we think, well, maybe this could be one of our more competitive games, and you just never know. So we went into the game off the back of the result of the week before, hopeful, against a good team in our league, a really close game. And yeah, we just got there. Where was we? We was away. So we were playing on a smaller pitch. He said it's 5v5 pitch, but it's in regulation. So the pitch was a little bit smaller than we've been used to this season. And I'm not going to blame that for anything that sort of happened thereafter. But so we got there and we warmed up. This is off the back of an absolutely fantastic training session in the week. So yeah, we went into the game full of confidence. And it was there was a lot of mitigating factors, but we got there. I had 10. I was meant to have all 11, but I had a call sort of half an hour before saying one of the lads was not feeling very well, so he won't be with us. So I had 10, but I had a good 10, good strong 10. Like I say, I've got 11 signed up at the moment, so 10 of them were all there, ready to go. I had my little girl with me because my wife had a first aid training course, but she was good as gold. So she comes along, puts on her England Harry Kane football kit, comes and helps out and stuff like that. But straight away I noticed the vibe warming up was not great, and the vibe as in the kids were messing about a fair bit, not really listening to instruction. My little girl was on the sidelines, like I say, I'm a coach dad, I'm a dad as well. She was good as gold really, to be fair, but what I noticed was when there's 2 coaches there, when Adam's been there, he was away this week, when he's away and it's just me by myself, it felt like last season where instead of it being more structured and more thought out and more controlled, when there's one of you with that amount of people, amount of children, it's really hard to, because we've been used to being two of us, we've been used to sort of nice, informative little group sessions, getting the message across, and it feels like it's building towards something. Then you go back to me by myself for a week, 10 of them, you got the goalkeeper to warm up, you got drills, you want them, trying to get them in the right frame of mind. It was off straight away, you know what I'm saying, and attentions and messing about was creeping in, and I tried to get them all round and tried to get them focused and all the rest of it. And as soon as the game kicked off, it's like they didn't know each other, and to say it was a disaster was an understatement. And we haven't been hit for double figures for a long time, as in general. I know we had our first game of the season where we did, but we were against a very good team, and I only had 7 players, and most of them would, half my squad was new, but 2 or 3 of my best players are away. But then we had, we halved it. Then we had a really close game where there was only a couple of goals in it, and it could have gone either way. So we go into this game full of hope, and then we were, 4 or 5 down within the first 15, 20 minutes. And there was sort of, kids they were nagging at each other, blaming each other, finger pointing, and all the good work that I felt that we were building towards, and we were getting a, bit of momentum behind us, felt like it was all coming undone at the seams. And at each break I'd sit them down and say, look, we've really got to buy into this, and got to look out for each other and put the effort in. And it got away from us in the end, and I'm not going to go into sort of specifics of who done what and all the rest of it. But we did score a goal. Bill got a goal. He's our top goal scorer with 2 goals this season, and he scored them both the same way, actually. I know there's been a lot of talk about the kick-in and the heading rules and all the things that they're chopping and changing, but both of our goals for this season have come from him taking one touch, getting the ball into play and smashing it in the top corner. He's done that twice now. So, and I've just actually filled out a form on the FA feedback because I'm involved in coaching, asking for my feedback on it. And I've actually told them I don't like that rule, even though both of our goals have come from that. But this is the reason why on Saturday it fell apart. So, for instance, you'd have a kick in, and our boys would just stand off because they don't know if they're waiting for them to dribble in or the opponent's going to smash it in. And the boys don't want to get close because I think they're afraid to get hit by the ball, which is understandable, only being sort of 8 years old. And, I think it's a dangerous rule. But saying that, that's where we fell apart on Saturday. We were standing off. We didn't have no ownership, so you'd have 2 players going for the same ball and they'd leave it for each other, and Terrington would nip in and score a goal. We were rushing, playing out from the back, so when the goalkeeper had either a goal kick or had the ball in his hands, instead of just giving himself some breathing time, we were just getting rid of it so quick and punting it upfield, and it was coming straight back to us, or we were losing possession straight away and they were nipping in and scoring. So, we were encouraging them to play out from the back. But I did ask the ref, he was a young lad doing it, and he explained himself well, so fair enough. But I asked him why wasn't he asking the other team to retreat, quite quicker or whatever. But our boys were eager to get the ball out. So apparently when the ball from a goal kick is played in and the other team haven't retreated, the onus is on us. We've started the game, so they don't have to retreat. He doesn't have to stop the game, so the play continues from there. And we got done by that 3 or 4 times. So I'll get to training in a minute, but yeah, so the game was rapidly getting away from me, and I had then by myself trying to do that on the sidelines, and I had sort of boys who were we've got some sort of infighting and all the rest of it. They were going off to see their mum and they didn't agree with it. I had a player refusing to come on because he weren't going where he was, and it's the first time I've sort of really questioned, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, I thought we were trying to weed all that stuff out, and I thought we got on top of that, and I was building up, good team spirit, and it just ended up getting away from me. And it's the first time I've proper sort of questioned on the sideline, and you got the parents the other side as well, and they're watching and they can see this unfolding and thinking, what is this? This is a shambles. And it was a shambles, to be fair. And it's just like the boys just from the off just had no communication with each other. It just didn't seem up for it, and ultimately I'm there on the other side by myself, and I'm wanting the ground to swallow me up, because whatever I do, whoever I put where, it just didn't work and it just didn't come off. And I look at my team now and I think, I've got a fairly decent, these are good little players. I've just got them to get them to click and mould together. And so we came away with that game, and it was even worse than the first day defeat. The lads' heads just went in the end, and I ended up stopped counting the goals in the end. I had to ask the referee at the end what the score was. But we got to the end of the game, and then I went and sort of did the parents player. Little Dior got that again. I think that's a couple of weeks in a row he's got that now. He was, again, I'll get into players and players' names and what they're about, but he joined us just about Christmas last year and never really played much at all. And just through effort and trying, listening, never giving up, always chases the ball, does what I ask. By far, becoming one of the sort of the parents' favourite, because he's won Parents' Player of the Week a couple of times in a week now, in 2 weeks. So you can't argue with that. But then I got all the boys to come over to me over the other side of the pitch and ask them how they think the game went, and they're not silly. They know that it wasn't a great result. So I sort of didn't take up too much time, because we kicked off at midday, so this was sort of getting on 1:30 in the afternoon now, and Norwich were on. I didn't obviously get to catch that game. I had to listen to the rest of it on the radio on the way back. But I sort of asked them, hands up, what did we think went wrong today? And they all knew we didn't pass, we didn't communicate. They're not silly. So I said, unfortunately, there will be no man of the match awarded this week, because I just, there wasn't enough there to give anyone a man of the match award, really. So hopefully we can go away in the week and have a good training session. We'll come back ready, refreshed for next week, and we'll go again, and we'll look to hand out some more awards. But yeah, I just didn't feel it was right to give an award out, and as harsh as that seems, you might not agree with that. I just felt, just because of the all-round sort of behaviour issues, the lack of trying, the pointing, the heads down straight away, I didn't have anyone out there chomping at the bit, a leader, if you like, and I just felt it was not the right time to be putting out awards. There weren't much there to be praising, if you know what I'm saying. And as much as I've been with this group for a season and a bit now, they've been nothing but magnificent, impressive, and I talked about it, does winning matter, a couple of weeks ago. I feel the time comes now where you have got to be a bit reflective on where we are as a group. They've been nothing but magnificent, they've progressed, but I feel that them as a group there didn't give enough to have an award, if you know what I'm saying. Like, there's so much there, there's so much better than that, and they just didn't. I think lack of effort, lack of trying, lack of giving 100%, it wasn't anything worth rewarding, that performance. So yeah, I opted not to give one, and I said, look boys, come on, fresh mindset, let's put this behind us. We have these weeks sometimes, and we got to go again. If we can just, like, as a coach, I'm not hard on anybody, I'm placid. I let them tell me what went wrong first. I don't go, you did this. I ask them, and again, new coaches, anybody who's listened to it, ask them when you come off, sit them down, say, look, obviously it didn't go well today, did it, boys and girls, whoever you've got, what do we think went wrong? And let them give you the answers. Then you can. So we are now going to work on those things. So let's go away, we'll leave that where it is. We didn't do well today as a group, me as well inclusive. We didn't get it right. Let's try and think about how we can progress, how we can be better. What didn't we do today? Let's try and put that right in the next game. So yeah, left it at that, and then I went and had a chat on the way out with. I've got a lad who sort of keeps sort of walking off, and he's a really good player for me, and he don't want to play with certain players and that, and this all stems from issues at schools and stuff like that. So I had to sort of go across and speak to a parent, and just they explained the situation from their point of view, and I just explained it from my point of view. Like I've said on previous episodes, a lot of these boys schools together in the local village, so they know each other, and I've seen them, we see them at parties or in and around the village and all the rest of it, so you're never not far away from seeing him on the school run or whatever. But so there's a little bit of tension brewing, and of course I get the download from my little lad Austin as well, and his thoughts on it. And even when he gives me his input, I'd never take sides. All I said to all parents over the last sort of week is any issues, that happen outside of school. All I can promise is that I'm providing a safer space, that when they come to train and play football for me, that I'm trying to build a team, I'm trying to build team spirit, and they'll be safe. There'll be zero tolerance to any sort of messing about or any negativity and stuff like that, and I'm trying to eradicate it, and it is still there a little bit, but me and Adam, we review all the time on our sessions and what's just happened and how can we make that better. And like the little behavioural traits, like I said, we never had, because it's all new to us, and we don't do this week in, week out for the last 10-15 years. This is new to me in the last year and Adam in the last month or two. One trait is that when we started a couple of weeks ago, we put a square of cones on the floor. That's where your drinks go. So when we say stop for a drink, go and get your drinks from the square. Now, at first it was, well, why have we got to do that? Well, obviously they don't know in their mind that we're trying to concentrate everybody to go to one place to save time, whereas they'd run off to wherever their parents were, or they'd dump at the side of the pitch and go off in all different directions, and then one would come back after 30 seconds, one wouldn't have a drink, another would be 2 minutes later. So it's just to get us to focus everybody in one place, and get that right. But the difference is now, after a week or two, they were struggling to check this. Just remember, put your bottles. Now they do it religiously. So yeah, getting back to them behavioural traits and creating a safe space. Just implement small things, little things to help yourself out, and I've found that they work for me. So, and yeah, like I say, I'm trying to create this safe space. I still do have issues in that, but we're cracking down on it. So we're doing the captain's armband. Best behaved in training is going to be captain at the weekend. Again, that seems to have helped. Little things like that, so they know, he's going to be captain, and all the rest of it. And yeah, it's just trying to tailor make sort of little situations to help yourself out, really. And we did it down now, and it's down to a few of them now, and in time they'll either get on board or they'll fade away. We won't tolerate it. We don't yet want to introduce any sort of sin bins or timeout, because I think that's detrimental to the their development. But if it comes to the whole group, it's easier with two at the minute to let that slide and deal with it quickly. But if I was by myself, I would struggle to give one or two people messing about the attention that they're craving. That's what they're looking for ultimately, is the attention. I wouldn't be able to deal with them for 5-10 minutes in their special need or whatever. Well, I would, but it wouldn't be fair then on all the others sitting there waiting ready to go, would it? And then it would breed contentment, and then they might start doing it. So yeah, that was after the game, and then we went away, had a McDonald's on the way home, bumped into 2 or 3 of the squad because it was a half an hour journey from us, so everyone had the idea because it's a midday kickoff. 3 or 4 of the boys sat around having lunch. I sat there watching the second half of the Norwich Derby game on my phone on Sky Go, and then I had one of the parents come over to me. They're not silly. They could see I was sort of disappointed, and it's just, don't worry about it, it's the way it goes. And it's just like, you put so much into training and trying to get them to come on strong, and you can feel real progression. And when you have a setback, a real big setback as well, this weren't a little one, I've explained it on a post that I put in our group after the game, that with the group this season, it's always felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but this felt like 3 steps back, but hopefully not. Hopefully it's just one of those weekends where everything went wrong. That was our moment where it all went wrong in one game, and we can bounce back strong at the weekend. So yeah, that was it for my little team of under 9s, my little group of ballers. Then Sunday was Caleb's game. Now, I don't know if I explained on the last podcast or not if I was going to be there in person or not, but unfortunately I wasn't there because my wife had a race, a 10k race, so first 10k race. So I went and watched her do that around the Royal Estate, Sandringham. She did really well actually, big up to her. But yeah, so I had to go and do the duties with that and cheer her on, and then that meant I couldn't be at Caleb's game, but Caleb's mum took him, and he actually started on the bench, and they were losing 2-1, I believe he told me. I've seen the report. They were 2-1 down, and I think someone got injured, so he came on and he played in defence. Now, not really a position he's used to, or it's his backup position. He keeps asking, if he can't play midfield, can he play at the back or right back? And I said, well, ultimately that's a decision for your manager to make. But he's been centre midfield for most part of the season, so he came on and played in the back. They play back 3. and he played on the right side of a back three, and from 2-1 down, he played the rest of the game, and they went on to win 10-3 to get back into, good form, because, as I've said, with his team is confidence with them. They've got so much ability, so much pace. He's got lots going for them, and they just need to string it together. And they unfortunately lost last weekend to, the couple of dubious penalties, which is what it is. But they bounced back and, came back from behind and won 10-3. I see the manager puts a report on the group chat after the game. And much like myself, I do a bit of a detailed report on what I thought, But he put one on there and said, off to their usual slow start, but they, again, come back strong. And that's the only thing that I sort of talked to Caleb about, starting the game strong. We all have that. I have that with my team. They just never start. They always start sort of strong, or make it a challenge for themselves, and then they start playing their football, and they normally blow teams away. So they've got that to look at. So I think Dersingham, who they lost to last week, won their game, so they're top, and I think Watlington, his team, are not far away. So yeah, he did all right. He had a good performance, bowler counts, smashing at tackles and stuff like that. Again, he played against a couple of people that he knew, a couple of mates from school. He said they were in his form, and he stepped up his game, and he got stuck into them. So great to hear. Great that his football's going well. I'll be back watching him this weekend coming. He has got a home game against Heacham, I think it is. Heacham? I believe it's Heacham. I think they're a good team. They had a couple of close games against them last season. I think they lost actually like 3-2 and then beat them. Them games where you have close games, and then like my team did against Terrington, where you have close games, and then they absolutely hammered them in the next game. Watlington did, I think it was 6-1 or something like that. So yeah, got that to come this weekend. But before I get into any other business, I'm just going to have a little look at what happened the rest of the week with the football in the household, and have a little preview to my game at the weekend. Be tomorrow now, coming up. But yeah, we went into the training session, me and Adam did, and I talked to Adam a couple of nights before and just explained how it all went and how it panned out. And we got a good rapport, so we speak to each other, and we looked at some drills and stuff like that, and we just. We always review our training sessions and where we're at with the squad, and who we think is best where, and who's going to go what, where, how, when. And it doesn't always work like that, but we at least we try and plan, we try and review, we try and then self-regulate and look at, are we doing the right thing, is the squad doing the right thing, and we move on and we try to implement that in our next sessions. Again, great advice for new coaches. Always review, and always think, it's normally obvious. What are you not doing? What were they doing wrong? Train on that. Don't overcomplicate the process, really. So yeah, I said to Adam, it was a horror show, really, and we played out from the back. We were sluggish. We just hit the ball, no passing. We were just kicking the ball when we got it, panicking. So we went back to into the training session in the week, and we split the boys in two groups. We had 5, I had 6. And we done some small-sided attack versus defence, 3 attackers versus 2 defenders, and we was encouraging them to pass the ball more, because it's in their head that as soon as they get that ball, they've got to run forward, they've got to score. So it's just about slowing the process down. Can they play across? Can they play wide? Getting them defenders as well, because we were slow to, face up to the ball. We were slow to close down. I was getting the defenders to, as soon as I said go, they were going to close the space down, but they were going to think about where they were going and where the other players were. And then in reverse, we did playing out from the back. So they then had to start from the back. It was 3 of them versus 2 going forward, looking to pass and play out. It's simulating playing out from the back, moving the ball forward to the safe zone without punting it. Again, you get a few who just think, it's a goal, we've got to get to the safe zone, punt it. But no, it's just about playing out, and we got them moving the ball really, really well, and we spent most of the time on that, couple of drills, and then we went in sort of 10-15 minutes left to go, got them to get a drink, and then we went into a game, set up the big pitch, 5v5, 5v6, and it was magnificent because they were actively looking to pass, because like I said, as soon as they get the ball from a goal kick, sometimes they just look to go forward and punt it, or look left and right and just to punt it to where the striker is, where you could see from the training session we did that they were actually looking to go sideways. If there was nothing in front of them, they could come back, play sweep a keeper we were trying to teach them, and come back, be confident on the ball, because we have got players who have got great ability, but if the ball comes in where near them sometimes, they just panic and kick it. So it's about, whoa, just stop, slow down, stop the game there. What would you do differently? Look at what's about. You can go back to the keeper, you can go right, you can go left. There's options. You haven't just got to punt it. And then the game, the deeper the game went on, the more they were passing the ball, and it's one of the most sort of confident. It gave them confidence that they can do it. They haven't got just to concede possession, or the first thought in their mind is, we've got to go score a goal, because you've got to get their brain in gear with this stuff. Because again, I sit them down, and at the end of the game when we finished, and I sort of say, what's the best way to stop the opposition from scoring is to keep the ball, because if they haven't got the ball, they can't score. So the longer we keep hold of the ball, the better chance we have of scoring goals and not conceding goals. It's very basic, very simple, and so I'm holding the ball up and said, we've got to keep hold of this thing in games. We've got to stop punting it and getting rid of it. The longer we keep it, the less chance the opposition have of scoring, and the more chance we have of scoring, and possibly winning the game. So yeah, trying to keep it nice and simple for them. Simple instruction, but a fantastic training session. Now this weekend, we're calling this an in-house derby. We are playing Watlington under-9s. Now obviously my oldest lad plays for Watlington, and he's likely going to be reffing the game as well. And they train alongside at the same time as Caleb. So I've been watching them play and train, and they had their troubles through the summer. They were one of the top teams, and I was surprised when I see them chucked in our league. I was like, well, hang on, because I know they were a right good team. They had, they were goals galore, smashing people, and they were in the top league last season. And it turns out that they've lost a load of players, and they've yet to have a positive result this season. They lost over half their squad because poaching and people moving on. It happens where we are, and it happens at all levels of football, even down to the basic entry levels of grassroots football at the lower end of the spectrum. You get players and parents who, they're not happy. They'll move people on to bigger and better teams, and that's just the way. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. And you just got to deal with it. So they've now got the harsh reality of that. So again, no idea what we're going to find, to be honest with you. So we go into the game just positive. That's all we can go. Each and every. I'm not even going to say I'm hoping for a positive result. I'm just hoping for a positive performance. Hopefully we bounce back, and it'd be nice to do some of the things that we didn't do last week and just breathe some confidence into the boys. So yeah, that's our fixture for tomorrow or the weekend coming up, and yeah, just want to go into it full of confidence. But as for the week in football, that was this week's football news. So yeah, the sort of featured topic for this week, as I was just talking about at the end of sort of this week's football news, was behavioural issues really. And online in the week, especially on Facebook, a lot of stuff's come up about behaviours and stuff like that, and I got into a little bit of a debate. It was a debate and not an argument. I just want to make that clear, with a lady who said about her son who's got sort of learning difficulties, and I can't remember exactly what it was, maybe ADHD, and she's told the coach how to deal with issues and stuff like that, but apparently stormed out of a game or offer of a game, and the coach didn't go over to him. Now, this is just me sort of paraphrasing it, and there's probably much more deeper than this, and I don't know every side of the story, but this is just what was on there, and I'm just sort of condensing it to fit the story here. But essentially that the kid went off and the coach didn't go over and attend to his needs, and he was more concerned about the game, and and she wasn't happy about that. And I just sort of just said how tough it is for us as coaches when we have kids, not just with behavioural issues, but kids who storm off. That where does our duty lie? Like sometimes we need help from the parents. Can they not go over and help? Or do we have to then go off and then neglect what's going on in the game and neglect all those boys and girls that are there? And you can bring in safeguarding issues, and you can talk about this and stuff like that. And I just tried to just tell her that I don't know the coach's story, but it's really hard for us as coaches. We know these lads, boys and girls, and that they're there. we get to see him an hour, maybe an hour and a half a week for a training session, and then for an hour on the Saturday or Sunday for a game, or maybe a bit longer. But in general, you know what I'm generalising here. And that is very, very hard for us to... We know little bits about their behavioural traits. We know how to sort of deal with certain things when they come up, but we're only shaped by our experiences, people like me as a coach, and as a parent. Now, my experience of dealing with those issues is going to be different to hers dealing with her son. So I perhaps wouldn't deal with it in that way, but she's only shaped by her experience, and I'm only shaped by my own experience. And I would always, you know, I've talked about behavioural issues, and I'm at the lower end of the spectrum with abilities and standards and stuff like that, and it's tough at that end of the game. So when, you know, you get issues come up, I am attentive to everybody's needs. I try and help. I don't ever want to exclude anybody. I've literally just said that we don't want to introduce a sin bin system because we think it's detrimental to kids playing and it's not helping them in their abilities. But there comes that point where we do need help from... my team is a community, and my parents are a community together, and I try to keep that strong. I try to be informative on posts. I try to keep everyone updated. We all know, like I say, we all know these boys because they're all fairly local to us. So when issues come up, I generally know of a way of dealing with it, but we don't always get it right. But that doesn't mean we are wrong as coaches, and it's very, very hard. And this is the one aspect that if you're a new coach, that if you've got learning difficulties or behavioural issues, that I wouldn't beat yourself up, but you've just got to be always err on the side of caution. Just try and overcome it as much as you can, but if you're struggling with it, go and speak to the parents. Try and create a bit of a bond and a bit of a community and a bit of rapport with your group of parents. Go and speak to them, and often they will help you out. Like I've had no issues with it. I've got strong parents where they'll come over and tell their child if they're misbehaving, that if you do it again, I'll drag you out myself. So that's always really helpful, because I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but also I don't want sessions going off the rails. I don't want people walking out of games. So yeah, like this lady said, her son stormed off, and the coach didn't go over and give him, you know, the care that she thought was right, and she's contacted the welfare officer at the club, and the welfare officer has backed the coach and his explanation, so she's not happy about it, and that's why she put this post online. She thought, you know, she put it out there as it's a bit of a, you know, is this endemic in grassroots football? And yeah, my response to that, well, of course it's not. Like I just explained, everybody's experience on everything is different, and for me, if I was not backed by, in that situation, if I had genuinely missed something or someone storming off and I had that choice of what to do, I was hoping the parent would step in. But, you know, ultimately, if I generally missed it and I didn't know they'd stormed off somewhere and I was concentrating on the game, that, you know, if a welfare officer then challenged me on it and didn't back me, I'd probably just walk away. And I guess a lot of coaches would like that, because ultimately, like I said, we're there to ultimately to get them to play football, but obviously we're there helping shaping them in a team environment and learning to respect others, and there's much more to it than that. And when it comes to behaviour issues and learning difficulties especially, it's such a complex issue, and they're, like I say, that people are fishing for right and wrong, and I generally believe that there's a middle ground where it might be right for somebody else, but it might not necessarily be wrong for someone else. Like I said, just because you're not doing it how they would do it doesn't mean that it's wrong. Because I see the lady say that, well, I told him how to deal with it, and it's like, yeah, but it's just not as simple as that, because like I say, we're all guided and we're all shaped by what we've done and seen before. So we're just parents. Like I said, I'm no different now. 1 year ago, or just over a year ago, I was just a parent, but now a year later, I'm now responsible for a group of 12 people, and I'm all of a sudden meant to know all their complex needs and how to deal with them. Well, no, that I'm only a year, you know, later, and I've only got that hours or two each week to learn about these things. So yeah, it's not really, the balance is not fair, if you know what I'm saying. You've got to be fair with us. Like, give us help, give us guidance when we need it. If you see your child storming off, I know we have areas where parents are meant to be and all the rest of it, but for things like this, then the rules can be twisted and bent. You know, like if your child is going off in distress and someone's not seeing it, because you're there for your parent, where your child, and we're there for all of them. sometimes we miss them. Like I get it in training now with behavioural things. I'll have my back to people, me and Adam, and be just quickly doing this, and then you go, he's just pushed me, and it's like our backs are turned. Like, cut it out, or if we see it, you'll be out of the session. So, like I say, no right or wrong in many of the cases, just about being fair with it. And then I see a post appear on Junior Grassroots page on Facebook, and I'll read it out. I'll read it out in its entirety. A big issue that stops kids from progressing in football is training and playing with players who want to mess around in training. As a parent, it's very frustrating to watch. There are those kids who don't take it seriously and those who do and are let down by them. Also, in bracket, the coach is let down. If you're a talented player, it must be frustrating. It must be frustrating playing with players that are a lot lower standard than you. For instance, in dance, they have the best of both worlds, where you have a normal competitions and mixed ability. But then you have the elite comps, where it's the best dancers. Parents, kids might not like it, but it is what it is. And if they improve, they can be included. It's a shame that grassroots football can't be like this, so those of a higher ability and more serious can play with likewise kids, not academies. So what they're saying is their kids are basically not good enough to be in academies. That's what I read from that. And then you get like a group like mine where, and it's probably like this for all grassroots teams, where you've got kids who are better than other kids and kids who are not better than other kids, and that's what grassroots football is. It's a mixture of people and personalities. Now they're saying that, well, it's not fair. All the best people should be grouped together. Now, my response to that was this. It's such a much more complex and deeper issue than this horrid blanket statement. And I should know, as I coach a low-level team with my share of children with complex behaviours and issues, but every group is different, as is the coach, parent and players. So a blanket statement like this is horrendous. Grassroots football does tier teams based on ability, but players and children are different, and it's dependent on so much more. Where they live, parents, home life, friends, the area, and so much more. Players and parents who want to progress naturally will. Those who don't and are in it for fun will play football for those reasons. To be honest, this is a swear word statement. So yeah, basically I just rubbish that statement, because them comparing it to a dance competition, what a load of rubbish, like unbelievable. So like I said, football is a collection of not only players but parents as well. Now parents, as I just said about the Wattington team we play at the weekend, the players didn't ask to move on. The parents went and used their, had their ego and want their players to go and play with better players, which is fair enough. I've got nothing against that, really. I mean, I think it's sports things, but for things like, for where I am, where we live in a rural village, that you may get people who want to train, but most people are just happy because there's a community of people together, of all different people, of all different personalities. And I'll be honest, the good kids, not yet, maybe in a year or two, they have no idea. They do not care. Saturday, we got absolutely humbled and, destroyed. And the boys still done the penalties after the game, went and had a McDonald's together. And 10 minutes later, it was like nothing had happened to them. Whereas me and my ego are stewing on it for a little while, thinking, what can I do better? Are the parents, thinking I'm useless at this and all the rest of it. Whereas the players themselves, the kids, honestly don't care. Now, yes, you do get those who are a little bit more advanced and they want to play with better players and they get stressed. I've seen it, that's fair enough, but it's not very many. It's the odd few. I've got a couple of really good players in my squad, and I've got a lot of new players in my squad. The new players still try to pass the not so good players or the lower ability players, and they never blame them. I know I've just gone on about blame game, but they're not pointing the fingers, especially the better ones. They just they tend to be the ones who have they listen more and they just crack on with it. So yeah, it's such a horrendous statement that that they're holding them back. It's just, what are you talking about? This is the lower end of the football spectrum, and this parent has obviously got a gripe about something that they didn't want to come out and say it, but it's driven from the parents again and their ego, really, where they think their child's too good for a certain situation. And it may be evident. You can stick some really good children in my team and they'd probably be standout, like I say, but that is what it is. We're a collection of different people of different abilities, and if anybody thinks they can do better elsewhere, then so be it. And you see it so many times where people move on and they'll move on again, and it would just be a continuation. And this is grassroots football. They're not at an academy, so why hunt for that if you've got a nice environment where everything is great? And yeah, you get, like I say, your fair share of behavioural issues, but try and work it out, stick with it. Like, eventually these boys are going to grow up and they're going to get it, and they're going to, like I've said, the year I've been here already, I've seen kids who are not engaged with football, have got issues that they've dropped out, and parents have seen it, and they know when enough is enough. Now, some parents will go for a whole season before they make the decision. Some people will do it after a few weeks or halfway, and it's all different, like I say. And these kids, they're all there, and they're all made up of different backgrounds. They may live with one parent one weekend, or one with another where they're at another weekend, and they may be a single parent where you got to give the parent a bit more leeway because they struggle to get in, 3 places at once with a couple of kids and stuff like that. So it's so much more than that, and that all contributes to behavioural stuff and the stuff that this parent thinks is holding her child back, which is just a ridiculous statement. It's, like I say, behaviour is so much more complex than that, and naturally, if your child's gifted, they will naturally move on. And those who don't, they'll stay where they are, and they'll likely be happy. So, yeah, it's a win-win for everyone. It's just like, we got to stop as a community putting so much blame on different people and different kids and all the rest of it. Because it's not dancing. It's not go and have a little shake senora with a dancing partner. This is a group of complex people, from coach to parents to players. And it's about trying to buy into that spirit. I listen to podcasts and books, audio books all the time. And one that slipped through the net is quite an old one. I've just listened to Gary Neville talking about his time coming through the Man United youth ranks and buying into the team spirit, and a collection of people with the right attitude. And that's essentially what you need. And if you can crack it from top down, from manager to parents to players, you're going to be on the right track. So yeah, that's my thoughts on sort of behavioural issues. Hopefully anybody who's listening to this, new coaches, can take something from that, because it's complex. There's so much. So I do think that there's multiple right answers, and there's, you can get it wrong, but you can get it wrong for the right reasons. So don't be too down on behavioural stuff, and just tackle it by talking to people. It's the best way, really, and ask for advice. Talk to parents and how you can deal with it, because parents are not blind. They're standing there, they're seeing it, and they know that what type of day their kids had. If it's a weekday and they've come home from school loaded, like spring eyes I always say, or they've had a set to just before training or before the game on Saturday and they didn't want to come, and all the rest of it. It's always good to be in the frame of mind. It's always good to know what frame of mind the children are in. So yeah, speak to people. It's the best way, really, and then you'll build up a rapport, and then that will help long term with your team. Then you won't have the behavioural issues, then you won't have ladies like that on Facebook wanting to tell other parents that their children's misbehaving and stopping their child from becoming the next Messi or Harry Kane, and so on and so on. It's about trying to build up a positive community around you. So that brings us to the end of the 5th episode of Season 2 of the Coach Dad podcast. Thank you all for listening. It was a little bit of a deep dive there. Went into sort of behavioural stuff and that, a little bit more serious. Sort of the tone was a little bit sort of down a little bit. But yeah, let's bring it up. Let's bring it back up again. Positive stuff. We're going into the weekend. We're going to have a good game. We are going to go all out. We are going to try our hardest. We're going to win a game. I don't know. But we're going to try hard. And I think Caleb's got a tough game as well. So I'm looking forward, actually, just to getting back into the swing of things. Back to winter weather, though, isn't it? It's like we're going to be... I think I looked at the weather. It's going to be sort of 5 or 6 degrees, perhaps, when I go set up tomorrow morning. And nice and fresh when kick-off. We've got 9:30 kick-off. So I think it's going to be about 9-10 degrees. So nice and fresh. All the boys are probably wearing their Under Armour back on again. The old winter coat is back out again and in full force. So yeah, we'll see a lot of that on the sidelines. It's meant to be sunny and clear tomorrow, and then Sunday is meant to be a bit of a washout, I think. So might have to find my umbrella for Caleb's game. So yeah, I like a good game in all weathers, in the wet weather and all the rest of it. But I was worried about it in the week, actually. There's been a lot of torrential flooding throughout the country and a lot of downpour rain and all the rest of it. And I was waiting, first week in September, last week in September for the first call offs already for training, but luckily we all managed to get our sessions in this week, and the pitches are in good nick where we are. But yeah, it won't be long, I'm guessing, until we're all pitch inspections at sort of 9 a.m. in the morning and are looking at becoming sort of weather forecasters, as we all do as coaches as well. That's another string to your bow that you need if you're new to this. Got to become a weatherman. You got to sort of, I'm always looking at the schedule, sort of the forecast, a week ahead, and trying to, are we, aren't we, will we be calling it off? Should we, are we going to get a session in this week? But all looking good at the minute. But yeah, definitely winter is on the horizon, so we've got that to look forward to. Just a last quick shout out to it's Woodingdean Wanderers under sevens, and captained by Roma. That's come from Dad Kev. So shout out to you boys. I hope you're doing well. Under sevens, cool. That takes me back. All fun. Lots of goals, small pitches and stuff like that. And well, I say it takes me back. We was only playing that a year or so ago, last season, a few months back. But yeah, it was all fun and games when Austin was playing that, because it was all seemed so innocent, and lots of kids new to football. So as always, you never knew what you were going to be dealing with week in, week out. But yeah, it takes me back. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and I will catch you next week on the Coach Dad podcast.